So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going over the AQA topic test on the higher syllabus, and the theme of this video is Algebra Recap and Review. Now there is a copy of the questions in the description below for you to download and have a go at before we work through the answers in this video. So let's get started on this AQA topic test higher level, and it's Algebra Recap and Review. So looking at the first question, it says circle the line that is parallel to y equals 2x plus 8. Now with this, what you're trying to do is find an equivalent equation where the gradient is positive 2 when y is the subject, not 2y when y is the subject. So again, looking at this one, that's not going to be the case because the gradient is a half. With this one, the gradient is minus 2. With this one, when we rearrange the formula to make y the subject, we get y equals 2x. So again, without being too obvious, this one is going to be our correct answer. Question 2, it says circle the line that is perpendicular to y equals 2x plus 8. So again, to find a perpendicular gradient, it's going to be m is going to equal the negative reciprocal of whatever the gradient of the line is. So it's a half, so I'm looking for where the gradient is minus a half. So again, it's not going to be the first one, it's not going to be the second one, so let me just write down what the gradients are for these. That's minus 2. This one here is going to be 2. And this one here, well, when I divide everything by 2, I end up with this. And as you can see, that gives me a gradient of a half. So the answer is the fourth option. For question 3, it says circle the line that passes through the origin. So again, when it passes through the origin, what you're doing is when x equals 0, y needs to equal 0. So if I make x equal 0 in this first example, I end up with plus 8. So again, that's not the option I'm looking for. When x equals 0, I get y equals 8 again. So again, that's not the option. When x equals 0, I get y minus 0 equals 0. So that's the option I'm looking for. For question 4, it says work out where the line 2y minus 3x minus 8 crosses the y-axis. Now when it crosses the y-axis, so it crosses the y-axis when x equals 0. So if you imagine the y-axis and the x-axis, when anything crosses the y-axis, x is always going to be 0. So if I make x equals 0, I end up with 2y minus 0 minus 8 equals 0. So I end up with 2y minus 8 equals 0. 2y equals 8, so y equals 4. So then the coordinate therefore is going to be 4, 0. For question 5, it says here is a graph of a straight line. It says work out the equation of the line. Well, the first thing I need to do is recognize that it's a straight line graph, so it's going to follow y equals mx plus c, and I've also got negative gradient because the line is going down. So the first thing you need to do is find m, and how do I find m? Well, I work out the distance up divided by the distance across. So here I'm going up 6 and across 2. So if I just pick two coordinates, turn it into a right angle triangle, and then using the scale, both the horizontal and the vertical scale, so that's going to be 6, that's going to be 2, so m equals 3. Then to work out where it crosses the y-axis, well, it crosses the y-axis at 6. So then the gradient of the line is going to be y equals 3 minus 3x rather, equals, let me just write that properly. So the equation is going to be y equals minus 3x plus 6, or you can write it as 6 minus 3x equals y. And either of those answers will be absolutely fine. Looking at question 6, it says solve the equation. Well, it's pretty relatively simple, this one. So we get rid of the 14 first. So I have 3x equals minus 12. And then get rid of the 3. So x equals minus 4. Question 7, it says here is a graph of y equals 3x minus 1. And the question is asking me to find the solution of where 3x minus 1 equals 0. Now this is the line, this bit here. So what I'm looking for is where the line crosses 0, which is at this point here. Now I would say that that point there is at 0.4. Now with regards to this, they will be expecting you to kind of use your graph to put it there. Now how you shape for 1 mark, you could even just solve it. So for example, what you don't want to do is this, because that shows that you've not used the graph. And so they'll be looking for where you've marked the line, where the diagonal line crosses the x-axis, and that's your answer there. Now in terms of question 8, it says solve the double-sided equation. So again, the first thing we want to do is expand the brackets. I've got 2x plus 8, and then we take all the x's onto one side, then take the 1 over to the other side, which I end up with 7, giving me a final answer of x equals 7 over 3. Then moving on to question 9, it says Amy cycles from home to the park and back home. The graph shows her journey. It says Amy stops at the park for 15 minutes. Work out the average speed from home to the park in kilometers per hour. So what we're looking for is this here. Now speed is equal to distance over time. So the distance she's travelled is 20 kilometers. You just want to make sure that the units, as we want the units in kilometers per hour, the distance needs to be in kilometers, the time needs to be in hours. Now here we're looking at 75 minutes. Now to convert 75 minutes into hours, we just do 75 over 60, which is, again, we can simplify this fraction. So it becomes 5 over 4, which is 1.25, or 1¼ hours, which is fine, but remember, just be careful for that. So I'm going to do that divided by 1.25 and working that out. And again, I don't really know whether these questions are calculator or non-calculator, but again, whichever way you work it out, you should have an answer of 16. So looking at question 10, it says plot the graph of y equals 8 times 2 to the power x, where x is between -3 and 3. Use your table to help you. Now, with regards to this, let's just find out what these missing values are going to be. So in terms of my blue value, that's going to be 8 times 2 to the power of -2. Now 8 times, well, this is going to be 1 over 2 squared, which is 1/4. So 8 times 1/4 is going to be 2. For the next one, I've got 8 times 2 to the power of -1, which is 8 times 1/2, which is 4. Then for the next one, I've got 8 times 2 to the power of 1, which is 16. And then finally for colours, so that's this one here. So for that one there, it's going to be 8 times 2 to the power of 2, which is 8 times 4, which is 32. Now the next thing we then need to do is plot those points. So again, I've got 1 is at -3, so that's going to be a little bit difficult, but we're going to go for there. So when x is, it's going to be there. When x is -2, we've got +2, which is there. When x is -1, it's at 4. When x is 0, it's at 8. When x is at 1, it's at 16. When x is 2, it's at 32. And when x is 3, it's at 64, which is there. And what you then want to do is, as best as you can, is to try and join those points up with a smooth curve. So, and then extend it in terms of those there. Now the next question then says, the final one says, explain what happens to the value of y when x is a very small negative, when a very large negative number. A bit of an oxymoron there. So what we can say is that it's basically going to get closer to 0. And there we go.